Business of the Jindal Steel Group. We are a new entrant in the business. It's quite a cluttered space, a lot of consolidation. This is one sector which has been in news of late, starting with the acquisition of ACC and Ambuja by Adani, which is globally the biggest building material acquisition, which is roughly $6.5 billion. What that states is, this, that as Rajneesh mentioned in the beginning, that this is the time that has come for this country, India. This is India's next decade and next 2 decades for India, and that gets actually corroborated by such a big investment. Holcim was globally largest cement company. The second part which I wanted to touch, which is very important, is that as we build the infrastructure, we need to build an infrastructure which is not only cost effective, because we are a large country, we are a poor country in many ways, our per capita income is not very high. We also have to ensure that the infrastructure we build is durable and lasts for a longer. We have to build an infrastructure which is going to last for the next generation. And this is where the onus on the cement industry or the steel industry is very heavy. So we have to carry the most of the burden when it comes to the durability of concrete is concerned, when it comes to the carbon footprint is concerned. I'll just give you a quick numbers, and then we can have a detailed discussion subsequently. Today the industry is roughly 460 billion tons. But just look at what China, when it was at peak of its development, they were roughly 2 billion tons. So I'm not saying that we're going to become China. Of course, we are a service-driven economy, we are not a manufacturing-based economy. But even if we were to touch half of what China is, that means half of per capita consumption of China, we have to do more than 1 billion ton of cement. So this shows the kind of space, the kind of growth that this industry needs to have. And same in the steel. Again, in steel expansion, and China was going through its development process. The environmental concerns, they were not that much. But today we live in a world where we have committed to a zero carbon footprint, a net zero by 2070. If you look at our business, as a Jindal Panther Cement, we are very clear. Our focus is on innovation and sustainability. Part of it is driven by commercial, conversions, because we are a late entrant, but we are also a small player. But I think being a late entrant, it also gives us an opportunity to do something very different. That's how we survive. So in terms of sustainability, just to give you an example, today the average industry emits, if you look at the sector at large, approximately 500 kg per every ton of cement that the industry produces. We are currently clocking 300 kg. And my sense is, with players like us, with JSW, and with with renewed focus by big players like Ultratech and Adani's, the industry is.
I think if India has to speed up, India has to, there's something of speed, the other thing is the acceleration. Now the time for India is to leapfrog. And for leapfrog, India needs to accelerate its efforts. And for acceleration, one big pillar of success story will be how much of technology we adopt in our day-to-day work. Whether it's the BIM, which I'm sure a few of you definitely will be knowing, is a building information model, adoption of AI, which is artificial intelligence. We're talking about machine learning, drones, and of course the robotics. Because all this technology will give us speed, it will give us accuracy, it will give us how fast we can deliver things. And when you're fast, you save on time, and time is money. So imagine how economic the projects can be if the right piece of technology is used. On the other hand, the focus on sustainability, I think these two things will definitely take the sector forward. Now I'm passing it on to a research mind, Mr. Pranav Desai, who is the head of innovation and research at Birla New, for his.
So we already introduced. I'm Pranav Desai, representing now Birla New. Birla New, if I say that's 80 years of legacy where the Birla Group is mainly the Secure Birla Group, which takes it forward. So many a times the question, I'm discussing that Birla New, why the new? This new itself represents the reinvention, the regeneration, something new. We want to create the space for the dwellers by the building materials, Of course, we are pioneer in the building materials. The Charminar is the one legacy. 12-13 entry in India. We have worked very closely with a lot of concrete innovations. Those are the value-added products that time we used to define, and the lightweight concrete and other materials have been developed. It's more like, as Mr. Rajneesh also said, we are moving towards sustainable world, and the circularity is the main word that we need to touch. It's more like, we have been defining the latest era using 3R, reduce and then use, but there is no 5R, rebuild. So India as a country is now approaching the rebuilding the infrastructure, the buildings, using the sustainable materials. So sustainable growth. So at Billanu we are always inspired by such sustainable movement. So innovation and sustainability at our heart. That's what we want to deliver. So many a times raw material has been discussed. When I talk about with my association to NCC use lots of raw materials, such kind of waste. So that's the circularity, the pillar, one of the main pillar of the sustainable drive, been given and been discussed at every platform. And as Mr. Rajneesh says, it's a concrete, it's other materials where we need to use, and we can have this platform through a lot of, because when I talk about 12 and 13, few ready-mix contributors. So I was one of them from Lafarge and Holcim when we are talking about. We have been discussing few ready-mix concrete manufacturers were exhibiting, few of the flooring manufacturers were exhibiting on the world of concrete, few of the materials suppliers, not to the large extent or large level the raw materials or maybe any other materials been discussed. But now the world of concrete is discussing those materials and materiality, I would say. That's very important, and that will help India to build the next legacy in the infrastructure as well as on the product side. So that's what we continuously strive at Billanu. So it is always been with the innovation, inspiration, and creating living space for the dwellers, our customers.
Materials. I'm going to speak a little different from all the infrastructure and concrete and construction, and then you'll see it will tie back. Are you all coming from Hyderabad, most of you?
Yeah.
Right? So when you came on the way, you would have seen waste on the street somewhere, all of you. Waste is on the streets, chusar kada. So everywhere in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, in most of our cities, all the waste that comes out of our house directly goes into a big mountain, which is in the outskirts, which is the landfills. And there it sits, it burns, it causes respiratory cancer, not to some small village, to our own kids in our own cities already, in Hyderabad, in Bangalore. And there is no solution. We all see, we all feel bad, there is no solution. So we spent almost 3 years working in the landfill as waste pickers, literally, to build patented technologies, to understand why is this a problem. So we understood that, plastics, diapers, food, everything is mixed, and then it is thrown. And because you can't recycle it, you can't reuse it, it comes to our streets. And because there is no space, you burn it overnight, which is an open secret, right? So we built a technology to first segregate all of this into different fractions, the kitchen waste, plastic waste, metals and everything at large capacities, which is our patent granted technology. And we got awarded by the Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister of Norway, United Nations, World Bank, everybody. But then we were left with a big problem. What to do with that plastic? This is not the plastic which is like your shampoo bottle and your pet bottle which you give to your rattiwala who comes to your house. We are talking about chips packet, biscuit wrapper, which has a layer of aluminium sticking onto it. And this is 75% of all the plastics you and I generate. Like India generates 200,000 tons per day of waste, right? Out of which 10% is this plastic which goes into our rivers, into our oceans, and literally is already killing aquatic animals. I'm sure all of you have heard. So what do we do about it? Europe and US also don't have a solution apart from burning it to generate electricity, which India cannot afford. Alright? So that is when we felt, why not create an innovation, create a technology that can convert this plastic that nobody can recycle into something that could be a building material. Because construction is a massive industry which can take materials, as they rightly said. What if we build a material that construction industry can do, right? So that was two problems coming together. So again, we logged and figured out that if we can take these non-recyclable plastics and create a plywood-like material, right, 8 feet by 4 feet, different thicknesses, and use it in construction as shuttering plywood. These are these maroon sheets that is used with concrete in all these buildings. This is exactly what we built. So today, what we do is the plastic that is on your streets, which generally the cows will eat or get burned, is currently being recycled into shuttering plywood and used to make these buildings. Right? So today, as we speak, this is one of the this is a technology that has been again awarded globally. I've spoken about it in World Economic Forum in Geneva and several other places, and we have set up India's largest plant for this particular plastic converted into building materials. But we have already exported this to South Africa and UAE. Some of the very few technologies. I think India in innovation exporting to another country is something that is very new, and that could only happen because of such ecosystems. Right? So we have a vision that 20 years down the lane, when I'm telling a story to my daughter, saying, Beta, once upon a time there was trash, my daughter should say, Mama, what is trash? That is my vision. And to do that, I cannot do it alone. You know, we have come this way, this long, toiling so much to build a product that the world is accepting, and we work with almost all the biggest of builders and contractors in India and abroad. But still, every Indian, if they can start using, every contractor, if they can start using, we can solve 25% of that waste problem. It's not, you may think it's a small number, 25%, but it's equal to countries, many countries' waste. We can solve if every contractor in India starts using as simple as a shift between plywood to this particular recycled plastic sheet. That's one example. And when we launched the shuttering plywood alternative, and shuttering plywood was a very cheap material, right? It is not that we can be, just because you're sustainable, you can be premium, or you can be even the same cost. They are expecting you to be cheaper. So we had to innovate to make it more cost effective, right? That is a given. 100% sustainable, 100% recyclable, 100% recyclable. I have seen that it's a reverse effect. For example, the labor on ground, who has never heard of sustainability, you and I have heard, he has never heard, he doesn't care. But when he starts using the product, he's like, oh, ye hamare kachre se bana hai. He has a perspective that the plastic he's throwing can come out to become a material that he's using on site. So you are actually creating awareness by creating cost-effective, sustainable products. So I think innovations in India have to have cost as a big driving factor to actually make that impact.
Only roughly 2 billion tons, that's our assessment. 2 billion tons of concrete. We are again the second largest concrete producers globally. Now the interesting part is, I think, which may surprise a lot of you, is are we efficient? We cement industry in India today, and please underline this, is the most efficient cement producer globally. Our thermal and power efficiency is close to theoretical best. And I'm not saying this because I'm an Indian. I've been with Adani for 8 years, and when we concluded this acquisition of Wholesale, this is Wholesale's global CEO who said this. So it is not that we don't have, and I think what Madam asked, and she's right, because we are a big economy, and you had a good point you made that whether it has to be cost effective. I think for the industry's perspective, while we will always seek a benign environment, which of course the government has its own constraints because they cannot incentivize, they cannot subsidize. We are not China, as I said. But what we do need is stability, a stable regulatory framework. Many of such initiatives have not been, we have not been able to. For example, we are talking to BYD now on a big scale of actually bringing EV in all our mining activities. So this is not rocket science. It is happening. It's happening in China. The problem here is, do we have stability in regulatory environment where, because the investments, these are high capex businesses. The investors also, when we talk about infrastructure, one of the aspects that we miss, who is funding this infrastructure? These are long-term investors. These are pension funds. These are not shareholders who come for 2 years or 3 years. What do they want? They want stability in regulatory environment. I think the government has done a lot. You look at the GST reforms that has happened. Those are the things which are going. So while we have the skill set, and I think Niveda and you have a lot of bright people, we need finance, We do need a very stable government regulatory framework so that the big guys can actually invest and they have some kind of visibility in terms of cash flows. The problem today for infrastructure is you talk to the private sector banks, you give me one bank, HDFC, ICICI, Kotak Bank, who says I'm going to finance a road project for the next 15 years. There is not a single bank that does it in India. Ultimately, we go to the SBAs and PNBs. So we need to create the regulatory framework, the ecosystem which needs to be there, and then I think a lot of these initiatives can get scaled. Thank you.
We believe this forum will provide us an opportunity to bring everybody's attention of innovative products that we are launching. Our focus has always been on sustainability. We believe that cement industry and steel industry have to carry a significant part of the burden when it comes to zero carbon emissions, which is the target which our Honorable Prime Minister has given us, and we are very much on track. As I have stated, our carbon emissions, our carbon footprint is one of the lowest in the industry. We are around 300 kg per cubic per ton of cement, as against the industry of about 500 kg per ton. We are on track to take this carbon footprint to absolute zero. We are also exploring options of carbon capture, especially in carbon which we cannot, which is the process of the emission which happens. We can capture this and we can utilize it. Thank you so much.
World of Concrete అనేది ఒక ఇంటర్నేషనల్ ఎగ్జిబిషన్. అందులో వరల్డ్ ఆఫ్ కాంక్రీట్ ఇండియా అనేది ఇండియన్ ఎడిషన్, ఇది బాంబేలో జరుగుతుంది. అయితే ఈ పర్టికులర్ వరల్డ్ ఆఫ్ కాంక్రీట్ ఎగ్జిబిషన్లో బిల్డింగ్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ చేసినప్పుడు కావాల్సిన అన్ని రకాల మటీరియల్స్ అక్కడ ఉంటాయి, అన్ని రకాల టెక్నాలజీ అక్కడ షోకేస్ చేస్తారు. అయితే కాంక్రీట్ అనేది వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఎందుకంటే మన ఇండియాలో సుమారు 90% బిల్డింగ్స్ కాంక్రీట్లో కట్టాలి. సో కాంక్రీట్ అంటే కాంక్రీట్ బిల్డింగ్స్ ఉంటాయి, స్టీల్ బిల్డింగ్స్ ఎట్లయితే ఉంటాయో అట్లా కాంక్రీట్ బిల్డింగ్స్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటాయి. సో ఈ కాంక్రీట్లో ఎన్ని రకాల కాంక్రీట్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ఆ కాంక్రీట్ ఎక్కడెక్కడ వాడుకోవచ్చు, ఎలా తయారు చేయొచ్చు, ఏమేమి మటీరియల్తో కాంక్రీట్ చేయొచ్చు, అంటే వాటర్ టైట్ కన్స్ట్రక్షన్స్ ఎలా చేయాలి, దానికి ఒక క్వాలిటీ ఎలా ఉండాలి, సిమెంట్ ఏ టైప్ వాడాలి, కంకర ఎలా ఉండాలి, ఇసుక ఎలా ఉండాలి, స్టీల్ ఎటువంటిది వాడాలి అనేది అందరికీ తెలియాలి. అంటే ఇటువంటి షో అంటే నేను ఇప్పుడు ఒక బిల్డింగ్ కట్టాలంటే దానిలో కావాల్సిన మటీరియల్ ఎక్కడ ఉండాలి. అయితే ఈ ఎగ్జిబిషన్కి వెళ్తే మనం చూసుకోవచ్చు.